Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever.
How to coexist with the in-laws? No. I know you're thinking, Miss D, you're not married, so how then can you talk about this? Welcome to Making It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Daly, and with me this time around to have this conversation is Neon Nation. Welcome, Neon.
Thanks for having me.
He is a brand strategist and founder of Splint, but most importantly, he's been married for how long?
4 years.
4 years, yes. Yes, he sounds young, but he's wise beyond his years, trust me. So, Neon, given your, I can't say vast experience, because you just said 4 years, but how is it that you have coexisted with your in-laws?
Let's just have a little disclaimer. I accept and I thank you for saying that I'm wise beyond my years, but take anything I'm saying with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Coexisting with the in-laws, I guess, before they were in-laws. Matter of fact, I don't even call them in-laws. I have 4 parents, and 2 are biological and 2 are by marriage or by union. I'm one with my wife, so I consider them my parents from even before we were married, which is kind of crazy. I remember the first time I ever met them, I referred to her dad as daddy and her mom as mommy, and it was unusual to them. It was kind of crazy, but they just ran with it, and ever since then, like I think more recently too, they have really understood that from day one I meant what I said. I meant that they were going to be my parents, and that was it.
You said from day one. Somebody's listening and saying, but some other parents might see that as being a bit too direct or a bit too forward. What has been your experience where that is concerned?
Anybody who knows me knows that I'm direct, and I just get to the point. I try to talk as clearly as possible and as direct as possible about what I feel, what my intentions are. If you don't agree or if it doesn't resonate with you, then I'll test that and probably, take my cues from that. But usually I have never really gotten a pushback on that. Most times people, it probably takes them by surprise at first, but I guess they feel like, well, this person's for real. This person most likely has good intentions, because why would you call a person your mom or your dad if you didn't really intend for it to be that way? So yeah, anybody, going back to what you said, anybody who knows me knows that I'm direct, and I'm not saying that anybody else should do it that way, but I say exactly what I mean and what I intend. So I have called other people uncles and aunts because in my eyes they were uncles and aunts, and the relationship has always followed that initial statement has always set the base for what the relationship would be like.
So for you see them as your parents. So how then over the years have you then, because even if it is that you see them as your parent, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a good relationship with them or that you're able to coexist.
Well, one could probably try to define what a good relationship is or a bad relationship is. I just define a parent-child relationship as a parent-child relationship with its ups and its downs and its conflicts. And the minute I say that you're my parent, or I call you mom or dad, means that you must be prepared for us to have conflicts. You must be prepared for us to work together, but you must also be prepared that to act as if we are one. We're on the same team. We're one family unit, and that colors everything in the relationship. So, with my biological parents, we butt heads all the time, and that's understood. For my second parents, I'm their only son. And I would tell them, I would tell them all the time, well, unless I die, you won't have another son. So I'm here to stay. So we just have to get on with it and act like one unit. I have your best interest at heart. I have our best interest at heart because we are one family unit and we should operate as that. So challenges, of course, are expected in all familial relationships. If you don't have any challenges, conflicts, headbutts, something is wrong. Something is being unsaid, or something is left unsaid, or somebody is being fake. That is how I would see it. Whether it's a conflict at 100 or a conflict at 10, it's still conflict. And conflict, to me, is part of any healthy relationship because we're not all like-minded individuals.
That's right.
We don't share the same thoughts and visions. But one thing that we should share is the understanding that we have decided to be a family, and we will be that. And even if you're a biological parent, at one point you must have decided that is my child, or the child should have at some point decided that that's my parent. And based on that, the principle or the decision would color everything else. Because if you leave it up to feelings and emotions alone, then you know what emotions do.
Yeah. So what if somebody's listening and saying, but I'm currently married, or I'm about to be married, and I don't see my in-laws as, I don't think I'm quite yet at that mindset where I can see them as my parents. What then would be your advice to them to ensure that you can actually harmoniously coexist?
Funny enough, let me just give like a preface to everything that I'm about to say, and let me repeat the question so that I can bookmark it. So the question is, what advice would I give to someone who may think that I don't see my in-laws as parents yet, and
I'm not even sure if I ever will get to that.
Let me just give a little caveat and give a little story. I remember I had the same conversation with my wife, and I was telling her that that my mom is your mom, and I think that it's kind of weird if you call her by a title and her last name. For her at first it was uncomfortable, not because she never felt any connection, but she was never used to calling anybody else other than her biological mother mommy. And she just did it. She went with it. And my mom commented to me that it really touched her deeply. And she felt as if, well, this is my child. Like I always thought it was my child, but no, I am. She's affirming that I'm her mom, and I'm not just a Mrs. this or a Mrs. that or Neon's mom. I'm actually her mom, and she's my daughter. So for her, putting from her perspective, it was something that she probably thought she could have never, have done. But after she starts to view it with those lens and from that perspective, it opened up the door to, or it kind of removed the imaginary barrier of like, oh, you're Mr. and this and all this formality to, oh, you're my mom. I'm going to treat you like I would treat my mom. And we don't always have to get along with everything, but we understand that our relationship is not one of just mere formality, but we actually care for each other. So my advice would be, you may never even have to get to that point. It what works for me and what works in my case, I'm 100% committed to it because I've seen how titles and how you call what you call somebody affects how you deal with them.
True, that's true.
But if it's not for you, it's just not for you, and it's up to you. You must have reasons why you have hesitations or reluctance, or you're reluctant to do something, or your reservations. Sorry, everybody has those reasons, and maybe it's a hurt, or maybe it's something. But you have to work through those things if you aspire to any of that. To me, everything, for example, you call someone wife, or you call someone husband, or you call someone friend, it colors how...
That's true.
It colors how, how you view that relationship. Just by putting a title, it tells your brain that this is something else. If you call somebody brother, sister, it's different from calling them friend.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things color it. If you don't want... If you're if you're comfortable with what you have and you don't want anything else, that's fine. I don't believe that everybody needs to be on that same page, but to me, it has helped my relationship significantly, if not from their perspective. And this is something I've said to them before. I don't care if you ever view me as a son, but you will always be my parent. And that is something that sometimes we're not comfortable with, being vulnerable to say, I don't care if it's reciprocated.
Right. This is where I am.
This is where I am at. This is my standpoint. And it has helped me to embrace them, to treat them like I talk to them as if I would talk to my parent, my biological parent. I am involved in every aspect of their life, and they treat me as a son, not as an in-law. And to me, that means a lot, because when I think about them, I don't think about, the years that we never spent together. I think about,
Interesting. So as we're wrapping up, Neon, if it is that we've touched on somebody who might never ever feel that way, but just in general, to maybe somebody who's still kind of skeptical about saying, but I don't know if I'll ever, be able to coexist with them. What would you say to somebody who's still a bit skeptical, a bit cynical about just making that effort, about making sure that they can coexist with their in-laws? Because the reality is that you cannot ignore your in-laws, and you shouldn't ignore your in-laws.
Right. I'll probably go back to the foundational part of it, which is if you join yourself to somebody else and say that you're one, what's theirs should be yours too. And to me, if your spouse or your partner, the person with whom you have become one, has a great relationship with their parents, you not having a good relationship or not welcoming them into your heart, into your space, can create more stress and duress and more unwanted problems than you probably could or can ever imagine. To me, if you're one with somebody else, like I said before, what's theirs is yours. And you should want that too. You should accept everything, the good, the bad. If the in-laws are intrusive, you can deal with that. But at least you have to accept them at first. But to me, intentions are what really matters. If you intend to have a complete and full relationship with your spouse, your partner, you can't ignore, like you said, the fact that the in-laws are there, and they are vital. They're vital. They're critical. We might not always see it, but having a great relationship on all sides create a nice balance. That's at least from my perspective. I am not the law.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts? Or a final word?
I can't really put much together, but I guess I would just reiterate that what we speak or how we view things or how we label things all the times color the way in which we treat things. So if they're just in-laws, they will most likely be treated as an in-law. If they're parents, and it starts with just labeling it first. You're my parent. You're not an in-law, you're my parent, and then the groundwork begins.
Yeah. Thank you so much. There you have it. Thanks, Neon.
You're welcome.
This was Making It Last, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives,